Hello guys, my name is Anna and I'm a Ukrainian, and I have decided I will vlog daily from my country Ukraine since the start of this awful war with Russia. And in my daily videos I try to update you on the important real life situations in my country Ukraine, and of course I'm always glad to answer your questions and to clarify some facts from our history, our culture, our background, or whatever interests you. And today I want to answer the question, what is life like in so-called republics LNR and DNR? Well, to tell you the truth, the best answer is luckily I don't know, because I have never been to so-called republics LNR and DNR, and none of my friends, colleagues, or anyone else. But with the help of internet, news, and public opinion, and also taking into account the information that we receive from those people who fled these so-called republics, I do have a vivid image of what is going on in there. And I would like to start with one of the most important observations, that when they were occupied by Russia back in 2014, many people, especially pro-Russian people, had doubts, maybe this is a positive process or something like that. But 8 years later, many people who were pro-Russian decided to fight aggressively against Russia's occupation, because they realized what level of life, what quality of life becomes in those territories that are occupied by Russia. Definitely the level of life both in Crimea and this so-called DNR and LNR republics dropped dramatically. For example, the city of Donetsk was one of the richest, largest cities in Ukraine. It was very active in business life, in soccer life, for example. Lots of airports were built there. Euro 2012, I may be mistaken, but the one that took place in Poland and Ukraine, lots of new hotels, lots of new airports were built, and Donetsk was like, sparkling with all that richness. Also, it was a capital of many rich people, oligarchs, and so on. Now, definitely pro-Russian, who actually supported various separatists movement, financed them through Russian wallets, and as a result, to some extent, invited this war, helped this war happen, helped Russia slowly spread their, how do you call this bad stuff that octopuses spread. So this is all very bad, and for 8 years or even more, these so-called republics LNR and DNR spoil not only the map of Ukraine, but also the life and lives of so many people. Well, in general, how did they appear? What is also funny, that these are two separate so-called republics, not just one, so they cannot even cooperate together, unite together, they quarrel, they have some diplomatic misunderstandings and so on. It all appeared back in 2014 after the Maidan revolution, when Yanukovych fled Ukraine for Russia. And Russia decided to use this period of in Ukrainian history, when we still had to elect the parliament, when so many people were killed on Maidan and the whole nation was going through a difficult period of change. They decided to use this opportunity and to steal Donetsk, Luhansk, and also they had more plans for Odessa, Kherson, maybe Kharkiv and Mykolaiv, something they try to repeat right now. So in April 2014, one by one, Luhansk and Donetsk decided to proclaim independence. Then they have fake referendums, and I have a separate video that perhaps I will link to this vlog, where people voted actually surrounded by the military men. There were no choices in these bulletins, and in general the results of the referendum were already known. And so definitely these are totally fake referendums. Many millions of people fled Donetsk and Luhansk then. This was the first period when we got so many internal refugees, people who came to live in my city, who came to live in Kyiv and many others, because they don't want to live in this puppet pro-Russian so-called republics. And now, for example, a very popular, a very expensive, maybe the most expensive city of Donetsk is almost empty, and more than 40% of its houses and apartments are actually empty, which is another illustration of what Ruski Mir brings with itself. What about the population? They have fake numbers, but in general it is not more than 2 million people that were left, many of which are pro-Russian separatists, many of whom are Russians who came to live here, and also a number of people who have serious problems, issues with their property, health, I don't know, family life, that are unable to leave the territory, that suffer greatly. I personally feel very sorry for such people. Then the independence of so-called LNR and DNR is not respected and is not acknowledged in the world, and only 3 countries agree that these something are actually independent republics, and these countries are, surprisingly, Russia, Syria, and my favorite one, the Northern Republic of the, well, Kim Jong-un anyway, North Korea. So all of that demonstrates tell me who your friends are and I will tell you who you are. So this is a very vivid illustration of what is going on around so-called republics LNR and DNR. They have switched to Russian time, so they have +3 UTC. Moscow time, Ukrainian time is +2 UTC. They have changed, they have ruble, they have traditionally forbidden internet, and people are not allowed to watch things like BBC or other things because they spoil perhaps the brains of LNR and DNR people. In general, the level of culture, education, healthcare is really low there, and the majority of those who stayed in DNR and LNR go to receive their pensions, go to receive their healthcare to Ukraine, not to Russia even, not inside DNR and LNR. Of course, the majority of universities also moved after the occupation, and they have this imitation of, I don't know, theaters, imitation of educational centers, but in general it all looks really, really, really poor, really primitively, and they even have TV. I am not going to link it, but if you watch it, it looks like a drunk person from the 60s on Soviet radio, not even television, not knowing that he or she is being filmed. And they have very primitive vision of this new DNR and LNR culture. Moreover, they try to distinguish between DNR and LNR and see different identities. So, you know, Russians don't see Ukrainian identity, but they do see Luhansk identity and Donetsk identity. From what I know, people in Luhansk are actually less pro-Russian and feel more sorry about the situation, and they are very much waiting for Ukrainian armed forces to take Luhansk back, and lots of rebellion movements are present there. And in general, I do believe that this illustration of what Ruski Mir is when it occupies the cities that were once centers of industry, business, culture, entertainment, finally, what happens to them and how they look now. And I have heard some even pro-Russian people speaking that, whoa, Singapore or Hong Kong did not happen to Donetsk and Luhansk, something really awful happened. And it's weird how all of that can be so quickly destroyed. Of course, I'm not going to answer in comments typical Russian propaganda troll comments that Ukrainians bombed Donbass, because it is not true. You won't find information like that in any trustworthy international sources. I'm not even mentioning Ukrainian. It is only Russian websites that speak about that. So in general, for me, the life in LNR and DNR, as you see it when you watch the news, when you read people's feedback, definitely resembles a very classical anti-utopia. And now they suffer greatly because many of them are mobilized against their will, and they are caught on the streets despite they are not prepared, because you can imagine the level of the LNR armed forces, and all of that looks really ugly. And I think that this is the best demonstration of what Russia and Ruski Mir can bring to this world. So our task is definitely to stop them and to bring peace to Ukraine, to the world, and perhaps the main instrument for that is to stop Russia, Putin's regime, and to make maybe many new real independent republics appear on the territory of this gloomy Russian USSR empire. Thank you very much for watching, and perhaps today we will get 7,000 subscribers. So please, if you like my videos, do subscribe to the channel, as it helps me to inform more and more people about the situation in my country, Ukraine. Thank you for buying me coffees. I drink them and they bring me energy in recording and inventing. Please feel free to ask your questions. I'm always glad to answer them, and Slava Ukraini!